So we're talking, Mo, about the announcement yesterday that Zion Williamson finally going to play. He's going to begin his season next Wednesday at home for the Pelicans, and this has been a long time.
I love this. He's back in a week.
Yeah.
Still have a week more. We still have a countdown.
Yeah. Can he be back if he never really started?
Yeah.
How about he's just making his debut?
Let's forget what he was doing in the preseason, Trey.
Yeah,
that's been my favorite part of this is going back, and we have readily given out Zion's preseason averages like they matter.
Yeah. By the way, if anybody's back, it's Markelle Fultz with a triple-double last night from the depths of where he was.
Markelle Fultz is back. Like, Derrick Rose is a part of winning efforts. The Pistons won the other night. I have to remind myself that Derrick Rose is still in the league. Like, we'll never properly process that, but he's going to be around for a while. But no, like you said, you know what? The NBA going through the course of the season, kind of looking for a storyline to latch onto. There hasn't really been much juicy right now. And so let's put it on Zion, a kid who's coming off a knee injury, who's already had the weight of the world on his shoulders.
He averaged 23.3 points during the preseason, tied for fourth most. Only James Harden, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Stephen Curry had higher averages. His 23 points a game this preseason were the most by a rookie in the last 20 years. And the last time he missed significant time, guys, this happened. When he missed the 13 games, I believe it was 13 games. The other time he missed the time at Duke, when he came back from that, his first game back, he was 13 of 13 from the field.
Yeah.
Oh, the expectations are high.
Yeah.
Listen.
All that means nothing.
But there's the pressure on, listen, there really hasn't been pressure on somebody like this since LeBron, right?
Correct.
Coming out of high school.
Correct.
Waiting for Zion to come out into the NBA, and then that got muted by the injury. So now the expectations are going to be so high.
Yeah, so here's David Griffin, the Pelicans GM. He was asked if there was ever a consideration just to do the 76ers thing, right? Take that top pick and shut him down for a year and then get him going again after he's completely rested for an entire season. And here's David Griffin saying, bro, that was never going to happen.
Did you ever consider not playing him this year?
No, and he never considered it either. The nature of his injury wasn't such that was what was called for. You know, other players that have had to make that determination, I think in almost every case they had a much more significant surgery. Blake Griffin fractured a kneecap. That's a different issue. Zion knew from the very beginning that he was going to be able to play, and he wanted to play. I mean, he's told you he hasn't been overly happy with me that he hasn't played yet. So it was never a thought that he wasn't going to play.
The others in that group in the last 25 seasons, number one overall picks that didn't play, Ben Simmons, Blake Griffin, and Greg Oden were the three. Markelle Fultz in 2017 played 14 games. Looked like Zion, barring any more injuries, is going to play more than that. So finally we're getting him. The worry, too, it was a lower body injury on a big guy, so you always wonder about, and let's be honest, a big guy in New Orleans. We talk about New Orleans, so there's got to be some great focus on rehabbing there, because the one thing about an athlete in a lower body injury is it takes a while before you can start doing anything cardiovascular, start moving, to get that heart pumping again. Obviously, you can get on a bike and all that, but it's not like getting on the court. So it takes a while with that lower body injury to get going. By all accounts, he's looking in good shape, but that was one of the questions, was he's going to have to lose some weight forgetting the injury? Was he going to have to lose some weight just because they thought he couldn't play that big for that and that consistent in the NBA at that weight? Time is going to tell.
Yeah, and I guess all that stuff sorts itself out. I don't know. We talked about the pressure on Zion. I feel like a lot of that is mitigated. Now, granted, I'll be interested to see how quickly we ramp that back up, because the anticipation, and we talked about this, and I think we're putting some version of this question out at Golic and Wingo today on most anticipated debuts, the way that we look forward to certain players making their debuts, how memorable it was. I don't feel like this falls into that vein just because it's coming after this hiatus, just because it wasn't at the beginning of the season and we didn't have the time to develop it. Like, the amazing thing to me in all this is Zion is still fourth in the has the fourth best odds to win Rookie of the Year at this point.
Yeah.
Like, what would he have to do over the course of this season to unseat Ja Morant, who is the odds-on favorite, who has given us some highlight reel stuff so far during this season? Kendrick Nunn, who a ton of people, I'm sure, think should be getting a lot more press for this, but didn't come in with all the fanfare of a lot of these other guys. Like, what could Zion do in this limited time one way or another where we'd get back? Because last year was I think now going through this year's college basketball season, we have the true appreciation for what Zion did for college basketball last year.
What were we called last year? ZSPN.
Yeah,
And rightly so, because look at what we're at this year with the utter crapshoot that is college basketball, where we have no idea. We just continue to wait and watch top 10 teams lose week after week, and we see these stunning upsets, and Clemson goes into North Carolina and wins for the first time in 59 games. Like, that has been college basketball season. There hasn't been something consistent and such a force like that. So what is it going to take, or how long should we say, to get back to that for Zion?
I just don't want the kid to be crushed under the weight of expectations. Like, he's a teenager. You know what I mean?
I get that, but like, we don't afford that to the Warrior.
We didn't give it to LeBron. We don't give it to those guys.
You don't get to be a kid in sports when you're great at something. And like, those guys expect themselves.
It's exactly right. He knows it more than anybody. And I think where this is going to be good for the league, because let's be honest, the team isn't very good, and they're sitting 14th in the conference, and Zion playing the rest of the year, even if he doesn't get hurt, this team is not going to, highly doubtful going to make the playoffs.
There have been 3 teams in NBA history that have made the playoffs in a season where they've had a 13-game losing streak, and New Orleans had one of those earlier this year. So it is incredibly long odds.
Listen, so I'm sorry, Trey. What I was going to say is the big thing to me is, who are the top players we talk about in this league? LeBron, Kawhi, right? And those games a lot of times are on a 10:30.
Yeah.
And now you get Giannis, who was in Milwaukee, so those games are a little more bearable. Obviously, the better time to see. Now you're going to get Zion. You're going to get 8 o'clock games. So that because we've seen the ratings going down. A lot of people it's too late for some to stay up to watch those 10 o'clock, 10:30 games.
And Zion was the one they were banking on for that. We remember how many of those Pelicans games were put in primetime slots, were put in those watchable spots because they anticipated him being there.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content plus live streaming, make sure to subscribe to ESPN Player.